This video series chronicles my trip through Vietnam and Cambodia. I took an organized group tour with a set itinerary and saw the places that were included in the group tour. I arrived in Hanoi late at night, and the following day I walked around the lake that was opposite the hotel. Then later on, I walked around another larger lake that was a bit further away from the hotel. In the evening, I visited a massage spa, and the following day, the whole group visited the Temple of Literature, and in the evening, we went to the famous Hanoi train street. I will also show you some scenes of chaos around Hanoi. I flew from LAX on an Airbus A380. It really is a massive plane. It has a maximum takeoff weight of about 600 tons. It has 4 Rolls-Royce engines, and each engine weighs about 7 tons. In the lavatory, they have a motion-activated faucet and a push button on each side for setting the temperature of the water. How cool is that? I arrived in Hanoi late at night and got checked into the hotel. It looks very benign from the outside, but inside the rooms were really nice. This is a quick tour of my room. It was After breakfast the next morning, I walked around the lake that was right opposite the hotel. It was a small lake with some sculptures dotted around. The lake looks pretty bland during the day, but at nighttime is when it comes alive with color and vibrancy of the sculptures. It was nice walking around the lake, even though it was very humid and I was soon sweating. Across from the lake is a statue to commemorate the police and firefighters of Vietnam. As I said, it's at night that the lake comes alive with colors all around the lake, and all the sculptures are lit up. This boring sculpture transforms into a firework display at night. That is so cool looking. Remember this sculpture? It also lights up at night. And of course, no video would be complete without a selfie. Later that evening, I visited the Haru Spa for a spa treatment and a massage. They washed my feet and then asked me to put them into a pond full of gara rufa fish that eat dead skin. It was a weird, ticklish kind of feeling having these fish swimming all over my feet. The next day, I walked around the Hồ Kiếm Lake, which was a little ways away from the hotel, but right in the middle of the tourist district. It too had several sculptures dotted around the lake and was teeming with tourists from all over the world. Many of the old-growth trees had formed some interesting formations, with many of them dipping their branches into the waters of the lake. As you can see, some people do have great wealth, as can be evidenced by the black and gold Rolls-Royce. Most people, though, just have scooters. We left early the next morning to visit the Temple of Literature. It was founded and first built in 1070 AD and was reconstructed during the Tran dynasty, which lasted from 1225 to 1400. For nearly 2 centuries, the temple has preserved ancient architectural styles of many different dynasties as well as precious relics. Major restorations have taken place in 1920, 1954, and 2000. You can see the detailed and ornate work of the ancient craftsmen everywhere. Nothing here is left blank. Everywhere you see there is some kind of carving or 3D relief showing important features and sacred animals that were important to the ancient past culture. Here is our awesome guide An, giving us some information about this place and what we are about to see. She is an encyclopedia of knowledge about the Vietnamese culture and its long history. There are symmetrical reflecting ponds on either side of the entrance walkway. Even though this place was full of people, it seems it would have been a very peaceful and calming place to be when it was used for educational purposes hundreds of years ago. Here is our group getting more information from An. Along this part of the walkway, there are images showing the progression of students from children to adolescents to graduates and then finally royal noblemen. This is the Khu Van Gate, which leads to the second courtyard, also known as the Great Central Courtyard. This gate is very important, as I will show you a little bit later on. Passing through this gate leads you to the Thian Quang Well. On either side of the well stand 2 great halls which house the treasures of the temple. 116 stone tablets were erected by Emperor Lý Thánh Tông. These tablets are a historical record of the names and birthplaces of the 1,307 graduates of the royal exams. As I said, this gate is very important in Vietnamese culture, and this view particularly is very relevant. This view of this gate is used on the 100,000 dong note, as seen here. Passing through this gate leads you to the 4th courtyard, which is the ceremonial heart of the complex. On each side of the courtyard stands 2 halls which house altars to the 72 most honored disciples of Confucius and Chu Van An. The building in the background is where Confucius and 4 of his closest disciples are worshipped. The sanctuary also hosts altars to 10 honored philosophers. A small museum displays inkwells, pens, books, and personal artifacts belonging to some of the students that studied here. There are several statues of a stork atop a turtle. These 2 animals feature prominently in Vietnamese mythology. These are statues of Confucius and 4 of his disciples. This is where people come to worship and give offerings. Once again, notice the carvings and ornate stonework everywhere. Nothing was left plain. Everything was decorated with some kind of carving or relief. These are adenium or desert rose plants. Based on their size, they are probably many decades old, and they were all over this courtyard. This is the fifth and final courtyard. Literate Mandarins were selected as students to study here. In 1946, this courtyard was destroyed during the First Indochina War. In 2000, this courtyard was reconstructed on grounds of the original Imperial Academy. The design of the new construction was based on the traditional architecture of the surrounding. These are wax replicas of a fruit known as Buddha's hand. It is a type of citron fruit. The fruit is very fragrant and is used predominantly in China and Japan for perfuming rooms and personal items such as clothing. This bell and the drum building on the opposite side were erected during the reconstruction phase in 2000. With these views, our visitation of the Temple of Literature came to an end. These are some scenes of the organized chaos that are the streets of Vietnam. For every one car, there are about 50 scooters, all honking and snaking their way through busy traffic. I saw this street vendor selling scooter helmets, and they all had a notch in the back. I realized the notch is to allow women with ponytails to wear the helmets and have room for the ponytail to protrude from the. We decided to visit the famous Hanoi train street. It was actually very close to our hotel. It's like a carnival there, with restaurants on both sides of the tracks selling beer, wine, and coffee, as well as food. We were fortunate enough to be there to see 3 trains go by.